Welcome to this episode of The Marketing Companion, brought to you by G-Shift and Voices Heard Media. Here are your hosts, Mark Schaefer and Tom Webster.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very, very special edition of The Marketing Companion, broadcasting live atop beautiful Rockefeller Center in New York City. This is Mark Schaefer with my co-host, the awesome Tom Webster. How are you, Tom?
I am awesome, and what an auspicious show this is for us.
This is our anniversary extravaganza. And boy, do we have a show for you. We have just all kinds of surprises. We have guest stars lined up because this is our 50th episode. We've been actually doing this for 2 years now, which blows my mind. It's been so much fun, and it's gone by so quickly. And we do actually have great content today as well. We're going to be talking about how do we learn? How do we grow as marketers? And so I'm interested to learn how Tom keeps up to speed with things. I'll share a few ideas that I have. But first, we've got some celebrating to do. And I've been so happy because Tom has been on this. And we've got a couple of guest stars lined up for you. They're big fans of the podcast. And the first one, Tom, you were working on was Malcolm Gladwell, which is awesome. So, Malcolm,
let's try not to get people's hopes up. I don't want to hype this too much, Mark. It seems like you're really hyping this show.
But I thought you said Malcolm was in the bag for this.
I said he was in the bag. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the other person that you said that you could deliver was Warren Buffett. Is Warren going to be on the show?
Well, do you remember that blog post I wrote about Berkshire Hathaway? And anyway, Warren read it, and he's refused to come on board. So
he's just so mercurial. One little blog post, then he's off the show.
He is pretty flighty. I know. Warren and I had lunch last week, and frankly, he's still not over it, and he's unwilling to help out on this.
Who picked up the tab? I'm just curious.
I think he built it to Fruit of the Loom.
Well, okay. So,
I'm sorry I let you down.
Well, so do we have anybody? This is our extravaganza. We've been promoting this. It's been all over the interwebs.
I did, in fact, line up. I'm sorry about Malcolm Gladwell, and I'm sorry about Warren Buffett. I think you and I can both agree that those were both a reach for us. But I was able to tap into my entertainment industry contacts, and I was able to get two great guests for us that really have a lot to say about the marketing world. So are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready? I was able to get Marge Simpson and the robot from Lost in Space. Is that okay?
Sure. Okay. Well, Marge, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me, Mark.
Thanks for listening to The Marketing Companion. Do you have any thoughts about the show?
Homie and I are really big fans.
Oh, great.
I don't know much about marketing, but I love your voice.
I'll take anything at this point. So, what about the robot from Lost in Space? I didn't even. Honestly,
warning, Dr. Schaefer.
Well, I didn't even know you were still around. Was that Dr. Smith?
That was. Do you remember that guy? That guy was awesome. I love Dr. Smith.
Oh, geez.
Oh no, Wheeldeer boy.
Well,
a little bit hard on our listeners here.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Our special guests.
This was the golden anniversary, by the way. So, if our listeners would like to help us celebrate our golden anniversary, send gold bars.
Gold bars. All right, I'm not holding my breath on that one. So, it's been a great 2 years, and Tom and I really had a lot of ideas of things we wanted to do to try to highlight our listeners, and we kind of, were disorganized and ran out of time. And, frankly, the podcast all along has kind of been about us anyway. So why start, bringing other people in now? But we, I'm joking, of course, and we just really appreciate all of you. And this has been a big impact for me, really, is how much people really have bonded with this show. And I had a real eye-opening experience. For the last 6 years, I've gone to South by Southwest. And every year, people will stop me and they'll say, "Hey, Mark Schaefer, I love your blog. I love your books." This year, it was, "I love your podcast." Everywhere I went, people were stopping me and commenting on the podcast. And one of the things I love is that when you blog or create other pieces of content, people will share content. But on this show, people are also like sharing our inside jokes. They're talking about Google Pants, and they're doing hashtag Companion Storm, and they're having fun with it, and they're connecting. They're connecting. One guy wrote me. He said, "Hey, I just want to make sure, which Denny's are we going to?" That was an actual tweet. So it's really meant a lot to me.
Well, it's meant a ton to me. I mean, first of all, I'm a ham anyway. I don't know if the listeners could tell that or not.
The Lost in Space robot gave that away.
Dr. Smith, Professor Robinson, warning.
I'm a giant ham. I admit that, and I've always wanted to do a show, but I didn't want to do a show that was outside of my comfort zone in some ways. I really wanted to do a show that was about entertainment, and I think this show has absolutely given me an outlet, and I'm very thankful for that. And I love it when the listeners come back and talk about our inside jokes and our running gags and things like that. I mean, you look at a show like Seinfeld. That was a show about nothing. I mean, it was literally a show about nothing, but everybody had a role. And in a former life, I was a consultant to a lot of morning shows in this country. I've worked on the Elvis Duran show. I did a little bit of research for Howard Stern. I've done research on Elvis Duran and the Z Morning Zoo and a whole bunch of other things here. And the thing that's super important to have a successful show are roles. And I once heard somebody say that the formula for success for a morning show or something of that ilk is to have a dick, a dork, and a deer. I'm not going to say which one you are, Mark, but
that goes without saying.
A dick, a dork, and a deer.
Don't burst my bubble.
I think we're missing the deer. But it's been wonderful to run into people on the road and have them talk about the show, and that's enormously gratifying to me because I love doing it. Like I would do this if we had one listener. I would do this just to have a talk with you every other week, frankly, because it's a blast.
Yeah, it's the most fun thing that I do. It really is. I look forward to it each time we get together. And the other thing that's so rewarding is it's having an impact on people. I had a note from a young guy last week who said that he's changing his classes that he's taking in college because he's listening to the podcast. He's realizing that data and analytics and statistics is important in marketing. And he said, "I'm taking new classes because of you, because I listened to you and Tom talk about this, and I know this is something that I need to do." So we've kind of changed the course of this young guy's life, I think, for the better. We'll see. Maybe he doesn't do well in statistics, and then I'll feel terrible about it. But I mean, that just made my month just to hear that we impacted someone like that. So it was really awesome.
Well, I think that leads very well into what we're really going to talk about today, which is how you learn. And
how do we learn?
How do we learn? And, you just mentioned statistics, and I know that we've had a number of listeners, and certainly you on your excellent blog have had a number of commenters talking about wanting to know more about statistics and analytics. And I just saw actually in Fortune magazine just this week that Fortune and a company called PayScale collaborated on the top graduate degrees to get. And the number one graduate degree to get was a PhD in statistics. And
How about that?
the rationale behind that was twofold, and honestly, I can speak to both of them because I do love statistics. It's not a branch of math; it's a different dog. And the twofold reaction to that, or why it garnered the top spot, was number one, the pay is similar to a lot of other STEM fields, right? Science, technology, and so on. But the stress is lower. You actually are. It's well suited to someone who likes to ruminate and think about things a little bit, and it's not as high stress a job. Now, my job is a little bit high stress because I travel a lot and have a lot of client engagements, but it's still, I think it's a great career field.
Yeah, and I've said it a number of times that really today, marketing is math, and the real advantage is going to come from the people who. I mean, you don't have to be a genius, you don't have to be a PhD in statistics, but you have to understand. You have to know the possibilities. You have to know enough to ask the right questions that are going to lead to insight and hopefully something you can react to, activate, and create competitive advantage. Yeah. So how do you keep up with things, Tom? Let's get into our topic. How do you the world is changing. How do you continue to learn? What's one of your ideas?
Well, I know we talked about having three apiece. I have four. I'm going to cheat a little bit because I want to start with a really quick story. In 1999 and 2000, I was involved in a startup in the UK, and I know I've talked about it here in the past. And my role was more on the consumer insights and content side. But after nearly 2 years, the startup failed. It failed for a number of financial reasons. We had some revenue model problems, and we also had some basic accounting problems. And we burned through a lot of cash. I licked my wounds. I came home, and the first thing I did was apply to business school. I already had a master's. And I had already been in business for 10 years, but I applied to business school, and I went back later in life, in my 30s, and got an MBA. And that was an extraordinarily rewarding thing for me. And I did not get it because I needed those letters to get a job. I knew I could get a job. I got it because I had holes in my knowledge of operations and finance, and I got it specifically to fill those holes. So really quickly, let's not discount the value of continuing education because I think MBA programs are wonderful.
I like that too. I mean, I got my MBA when I was in my 30s as well for the same reason, is that I was moving into executive level jobs, and I had a good business sense, but I wasn't sure. And so for me, the MBA really, I mean, I learned a lot, and it just gave me confidence that I had the background, I had the knowledge then to be more effective. Well, one of the ways I stay ahead is, I don't obsess with all the little stuff. I think I would go crazy. I mean, I don't obsess with testing every new widget, every new app, every new social media platform. That's not my thing. I need to skim the top. I need to know the big things that are going on, the big trends that are going on. So I do a lot of reading, and of course, and so the journals that I turn to, the things that I subscribe to, where I get really good information on the high level stuff. I read the New York Times, the technology section especially, Fast Company, Wired. I read everything that comes out from Pew, and so those are a few of the things that I read to stay up with the high level mega trends. I mean, if you're a print publication that only comes out every month, or you're the New York Times, where you've got a pretty high level readership, you're not going to get into every little detail. You're not going to get into every little widget. You're gonna cover the things that are most important, and that's what I need to know to do my job effectively. I can't obsess. I can't be distracted by the shiny red ball. I've got to look at the waves that are cresting on business as it's happening.
I mean, my other than the MBA, I think my first real tip for me is that I maintain an active reading list I use Feedly, I still subscribe to a number of things. And what I try to do is I try to find primary research sites. I try not to subscribe to. I actually don't subscribe to a lot of blogs. I subscribe to your blog. I subscribe to Jay Baer's and one or two others to get insights on social media and content marketing and things like that. But that's a small part of my day. And what I really try to do is subscribe to people that are doing primary research. I mean, where I make my money, where I put food on my family, as W once said, is in consumer insights. And so I look at things. I try to look at the peer reviewed articles on the Harvard Business Review. I look at things sites like Flowing Data and Freakonomics and McKinsey and Deloitte and people that are doing a lot of primary research. I have a whole section of my Feedly, a topic thing that is just all behavioral economics stuff. And I'm looking for and actively searching for articles written by disciples of my intellectual hero Daniel Kahneman, who won the Nobel Prize from Princeton in behavioral economics, really invented the field. And almost everything that you can think about, from the paradox of choice to Freakonomics, they're all disciples of Kahneman. And they're all, basically, playing off of his ideas. So I have active searches for things like that. But I do try and understand my core competency. My core competency is not social media. My core competency is not marketing. My core competency is understanding humans and helping my clients understand humans. And so I try not to lose track of that. I try not to get lost, just like you do, in the weeds of the 1,000 or the 10,000 foot view on things like social media. I try to stay above that a little bit. And things like the New York Times also on a Sunday. I don't often read it during the middle of the week, but I do read it pretty regularly on Sundays.
Well, I like your reading list very much, and you covered a lot of great sites, and particularly I am really blown away by the job that McKinsey does with their content.
McKinsey's awesome. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the depth and the breadth and the quality of the content that company is putting out and offering for free. Their regular newsletters, it's just like taking a little college class. I mean, it's just so very good.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say really quickly on the topic of blogs, if you were going to subscribe to one blog that would pull your head out of whatever you were doing and make you think about something different every day, I would subscribe to Brain Pickings.
Oh, that one's not on my radar.
Yeah, check Brain Pickings out, because that woman is extraordinary. She has an incredible radar for interesting books, interesting research, interesting articles. She's a phenomenal mind, I think. And basically she finds something nearly every day that is off the beaten path, but extraordinarily interesting to me.
Well, I was familiar with really, I think everything that you mentioned on your list, except for that one. So I will check that out, and two more that I would add that maybe doesn't have the brand power of Harvard Business Review or McKinsey, but I really love what Christopher Penn does. I want to give a shout out to Christopher.
Absolutely.
Christopher we are so lucky to have him in the field of marketing, because this guy could be a physicist. He is a very gifted data scientist he is pouring his heart and his talents into marketing. And he blogs every day or nearly every day, and always seems to have an unusual take on things. And one of the things I loved about Christopher is he's just so quick. I wrote a blog post about gray social media, about how do we find these people who are sending us these strong but small signals saying that they love us and they're fans. And I said, I think this is going to be a real challenge in the field of analytics, because everything is averages and Pareto charts. Next day, Christopher writes a blog post. Schaefer had this blog post. It's an interesting question. Here's how you do it.
Yeah.
And he had this entire, he combined all these platforms and the statistical analysis in this very clever way. I love the way his mind works. The other person I want to give a shout out to is Scott Monty and his newsletter, his weekly digital review. And this is a must read for me, especially when I'm traveling and I feel like I'm out of touch with what's going on. Scott does an exceptional job. If you want to learn about how to curate content, this is the way to do it, because Scott does this with care. He does this with intelligence. Occasionally he adds his own commentary, maybe even a little wit when he curates the content. And I read every word of that newsletter. I click more links on that newsletter than anything I receive in my inbox. And I highly recommend this as a good way to keep learning and stay in touch with the big trends that are happening now.
Both Penn and Monty, good friends, extraordinary minds, and both have great newsletters. Both have weekly wrap-up newsletters each week that I subscribe to and read religiously, and I think they both do a wonderful job of curating what I need to know, right? I mean, if I'm their audience, which is a busy marketer who can't spend every day of my life in the trenches of marketing, those two newsletters are just about all I need, honestly.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal.
They're extraordinary. And speaking of extraordinary minds, I'd like to talk about the extraordinary minds at GoToWebinar, one of our cherished and valued sponsors. And my gosh, they have a tremendous program. We introduced them last time, and we both talked about how much we enjoy using their platform for our webinars, and it's really kind of the go-to platform for me these days. And I just love the way that they keep pushing on their technology, on their functionality, on their service, so that whenever you do a webinar, whether it's for your business or it's something that you're trying to monetize, this is just lights out technology. They're there to support you, help you, guide you, teach you. Their customer service is amazing. Tom and I both know some of the people there, and they just hire the best, the top-notch people. So thank you, GoToWebinar, for sponsoring our program. And please click on the links in the show notes and check out what they've got going on these days.
Well, Mark, I think we've both chatted about blogs and sites that we look at. What are some of the other ways that you learn? How do you keep up on things?
Well, I mean, we've covered some of the important ones for me, but another little trick that I've discovered is that I surround myself with people who are looking at all the little things so that I don't have to. So I've kind of got a group of friends that I know really geek out on this stuff, and they kind of keep me up to speed. So we'll go out to lunch once a month or maybe once a quarter, and I'll just say, hey, what's going on? What are you looking at these days? What are you excited about these days? And so they're spending all this time just checking out all this stuff, and I don't have to, because they're telling me, what's going on, what they're excited about. And I trust them. And I found this to be a very effective way to continue to learn and grow and just connect to a network of people who loves this stuff. And so they've become my teachers.
Yeah, I'm a really big believer, and this is also certainly my second one as well, or third one, I can't count, is to have a personal board of directors. And to me, and this may not be true for everybody, this is not judgmental, the chair of my personal board of directors is my wife, Tamsin, who has a very keen mind. I mean, in many ways, she has a sharper mind than I do. We both think differently. I think I'm a good lateral thinker, but she is incredibly perceptive. And we both have, interests that overlap and interests that don't. And honestly, just having a curiosity to be genuinely interested in what, the members of your personal board of directors are learning about and finding, and asking questions and listening is a huge part of it. And I mean genuinely put together a personal board of directors. I don't know that I don't have this enshrined in marble somewhere, but I certainly have a pantheon is too strong of a word, but I have because you're on it, Mark, and so I don't want to use pantheon. But maybe Pantene, the shampoo, instead. But people that I know we have overlaps in terms of how we see the world, but not overlaps in skill sets and how we think. And just regularly touching base, giving of yourself to those people, and learning from those people is enormously important. And to me, that starts at the very top with my brilliant partner Tamsin. I mean, we talk about ideas all the time, and I learned so much from her. And it doesn't have to be your wife. It doesn't have to be one person. It doesn't have to be your spouse. It can be multiple people. But cultivating that personal board of directors is something. We all go through different stages in our life, and I think once you get into kind of Act 2 or Act 3 of your life, it's super important to have that personal board of directors.
That's an interesting concept. I mean, I guess that's kind of what I have. I guess that's kind of what I'm describing with my lunch bunch, but I haven't really thought about it that way before. But I like that. I like that characterization.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that finding ways to get together, and you and I had this conversation offline about going to social media marketing world, and I was deciding, do I want to go? Do I not want to go? I'd been generously offered a position to speak by Michael Stelzner, and you absolutely talked me into going. And the biggest reason there was not so much who was going to hear me talk. It was about the people I'm going to get to see that are on my personal board of directors. And some of that is social, some of that is not social. And I think, finding the opportunities to do that is really important for your career.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because as I was preparing for this show today and thinking through what are the ways that I learn, one of the things that I think people might expect me to say that I haven't said is conferences. And conferences are really weird for me. I mean, I'm at a conference right now. I gave a workshop yesterday out here in Los Angeles. I'm a keynote speaker later today, and the conference is going on right now. And in fact, I think the speaker is Rand Fishkin of Moz. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he's a great guy. He's a great speaker. I don't think I've ever met him personally before, but look, here I am doing the podcast because we need to do the podcast. And that's kind of like my life. Even when I go out to San Diego or another one of these conferences, I rarely get to attend sessions because there's so much going on. And so conferences normally are not a great place for me to pick up new ideas and new content because it's just such a whirlwind. There are just so many other people there that want to meet you or see you, or I need to duck out to take a call. And I know some of that is personal choice, and I do try. I'm not the type of person that will go on the stage and then you'll never see him again. I do try to hang out, meet people, talk to people, learn from people, but conferences are not at the top of my list, and I don't know if that's weird. Or I need to do better in that regard, but because I've got this opportunity, I go to so many conferences, but I don't get a lot of energy from a lot of the speakers because there's just so much else going on.
Well, there are good conferences and there are okay conferences. I do get a lot out of conferences that are outside of my field. When I'm asked to speak at a conference that is outside of my field, I do try to take in some sessions and I try not to just blow in and out. I do attend some sessions and try to get a sense of the industry that I'm working with or speaking to. I will say this, and not just because they're a sponsor, the Marketing Profs B2B conference is a great mental sorbet for me because I do speak at social media conferences, content marketing conferences. Marketing Profs does a great job with their B2B conference in Boston at doing something really, really different, like really addressing the day-to-day challenges of the marketer, not just the content marketer or the social media manager, but the marketer. And they've really done a wonderful job with some advanced things. And I'm very biased. I'm on the board of the advisory board for the conference, but that's only because I've attended it for so long and been loud apparently. That brings me to an offer that we would absolutely encourage you to take advantage of if you've ever wanted to up your game in writing. I mean, so much of content marketing is being a persuasive writer, being a great copywriter, and it's a skill. It's a learned skill, but you won't learn it if you don't actually go through the steps to educate yourself on it. And Marketing Profs has a wonderful marketing writing boot camp from Marketing Profs University, and we've arranged a special deal with them. If you go to mprofs.com/companion and use the code companion, you'll save $200 off the $595 price. So for you, it's only $395. I'm really good at math, and it's a great. It's a wonderful course. I know a lot of the people who are teaching it. It's 13 online classes. You can take it at your leisure. The course begins on June 11th, and if you really want to up your game in content marketing, you've got to up your game in writing. And I think Marketing Profs Marketing Writing Bootcamp is a wonderful way to do it. I really believe in it.
It's a good place to start. I was I don't know if a lot of people know this. I was actually a journalism major, and it's amazing to me how well that degree has served me in this marketing role that I have now. The ability to write well, communicate well, create content has been such an advantage in my career. So that would be a great career move for anyone in the marketing field, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And just real quick, I have over the course of my days revolving the sun, I've accumulated 3 degrees, and my first 2 were in English. And even though I deal a lot now with numbers and data and statistics, and the ability to communicate those concepts to people is the most important thing I do on a day-to-day basis.
That explains why you talk so good.
You talk pretty.
You talk pretty. That's why you do so good on these podcasts, Tom.
Yeah, don't quit your day job, Mark.
Well, everyone, we'll need to wrap it up here, and we would be remiss if we didn't also talk about our awesome sponsors, G-Shift Communications. Great company up in Toronto. They have been so kind, so generous to us, and they have this amazing analytics dashboard. You can find all the data for shared, for your earned, your paid, your organic media that you're getting through the social web, all in one place. It's amazing. Several listeners of the podcast have been checking them out and have actually bought the program because they've been so impressed with it. So if you haven't looked at that yet, check it out. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, and by the way, what does the G stand for? I mean, they have incredible tools. I don't know what the G stands for.
I'll find that out before next time. I don't know.
I don't know what that stands for.
It's a cool name.
I know
it's provocative.
It's provocative, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I love what they're doing, but I actually have never asked about the G. But I do know what Voices Heard Media stands for. They are our charter sponsor. We love those guys. They are really doing some smart stuff with social media engagement and different kinds of engagement tools for your website. There are some real advanced thinking going on down there near the Oak Hill Labs, right, in Knoxville. Is that down where you are?
Yeah, they're right near the Marketing Companion Labs.
Companion Labs.
They're sharing a space. Yeah.
So if Voices Heard Media is anywhere near the Marketing Companion Labs, then just by osmosis, they're brilliant because there's equally good work coming out of both. So we very thankful to them for being our charter sponsor for all 50 episodes.
All 50 episodes. And we're also so grateful that you have been here with us all along. And it's just been amazing. Keep those cards and letters coming. We love hearing from you. We love connecting to you. Thank you so much for listening to us over these 50 episodes. And if anything, we're just committed to be even better, more interesting, more fun and entertaining every show. So thanks so much. Until next time, Mark Schaefer, Tom Webster, and we'll see you on the next Marketing Companion.